Hi, I'm Andrew Wasson. Thanks for joining me for my weekly guitar blog. It's October 14th, 2012, and this week we're going to answer the question of what is a modal progression. And this question was sent from Douglas. He's out in Oakville, Ontario, Canada, and he wrote in asking, I've read on guitar forums where musicians are talking about something called a modal progression. What exactly is a modal progression, and does this have something specific to do with the major scale modes of music? From Douglas in Oakville, Ontario, Canada. Well, when people will use the term modal progression, they're talking about chord changes that are built from the modes of the major scale. And just as the major scale can be harmonized by stacking the notes of the scale in diatonic third intervals, we can also do the same with the modes as well. It all comes down to selecting a central chord around which the progression that you compose will resolve. In my first example, I have a basic A major scale example starting on the tonic chord of A, and then it next moves to the 6th chord of F sharp minor, and it goes back to A and then heads to the 5 chord of E major. So this is just basic Ionian mode, and it's in the key of A major. It sounds like this: 2, 3, 4, 1. So that's an example of just being in a standard major key. Now next, let's move modal in example number 2. I have this example here that I place my focus upon the 5th chord tone of the key of A. It's a E major. And this progression would be referred to as a Mixolydian mode because the E is the 5th chord found in the key of A major. And it's become our focal point. So here's what example number 2 sounds like. Those chords are E major, B minor, D major, back to E. So you can see there the focus is definitely on the E chord, and we don't even go anywhere near the parent major scale root chord of A major. That's how you create a real basic modal progression. Now let's move over to example number 3. In this progression, I've placed the focus upon the 3rd chord tone of C major, which is E minor. And this approach creates the sound of Phrygian mode. It's a very simple progression, and a lot of modal progressions are like this, where you just move between only a couple of chords. And the chords we're going to move between are an E minor and an F major. And the progression sounds like this. Okay, now in example number 4, my final example, I've created a progression that drones on a static bass note. It's going to be an A underneath a series of chord changes. Now, the parent major scale key will be E major, but using this approach of an A bass note, we wind up with a modal progression off of the E major's 4th mode, which is called Lydian Mode. In our case here, of course, because the A is the root, it's going to be A Lydian. Now, a lot of modal progressions do this, where they create a droning bass note, and it's one of the most common ways of using modal progressions musically. Here we go. Here's example number 4. Well, modal progressions are a very interesting sound that many guitarists will use in their songwriting. So whether you're listening to Neil Young, Van Halen, or Joe Satriani, the use of this technique applied to chord changes is quite common. And since the modal progressions are often set against a bass line that pedals the root of the scale, there are interesting chord changes that can be built from both the relative and even the parallel modes. Anyway, once again, that's about all the time I have for today. As always, thanks for watching. Have yourself a great week, and I'll catch up with you next time. Bye for now.